Welcome back to our channel Hidden Coins World. If you are a coin collector, watch video carefully. I will tell you about coins that make you a millionaire overnight. Top 1, the 1965 United States of America 1 dime. It's a small silver-colored coin that most people wouldn't think twice about. Yet behind its tiny surface lies a story so fascinating, it has captivated collectors, historians, and treasure hunters for decades. Imagine finding a dime in your pocket, worn out, light, maybe even a little dirty, and discovering that this same coin could be worth not just hundreds or thousands, but a jaw-dropping $47 million. That's not a myth or an exaggeration. That's the incredible legend of the 1965 1 dime. To understand why this particular dime holds such incredible value, we have to travel back in time, to a very specific and pivotal moment in American history. The year is 1965. The United States was in the midst of social change, political tension, and economic evolution. President Lyndon B. Johnson was in office, the Vietnam War was intensifying, and inflation was rising. But something else was happening behind the scenes, something that would forever change the face of American coinage. Until 1964, U.S. dimes, quarters, and half dollars were made from 90% silver. That silver content made them not only valuable as currency but also as precious metal. However, by the early 1960s, the price of silver was climbing fast. The cost of producing silver coins was beginning to exceed their face value. People realized that melting coins for their silver was actually more profitable than spending them. That posed a big problem for the U.S. Treasury. To solve this crisis, in 1965, the U.S. Mint decided to remove silver from dimes and quarters entirely, replacing it with a new composition, a copper-nickel-clad structure. The new dimes were made with a pure copper core sandwiched between two layers of nickel alloy, giving them a silvery appearance but no actual silver content. This transition marked a new era in American currency. But it also created one of the most mysterious and valuable coins ever made, the 1965 silver dime. You see, during the transition from 1964 to 1965, the Mint was still producing some silver planchets, the blank metal discs used to make coins, for the previous year's dimes. Somewhere in that chaotic period, a few of those silver planchets accidentally slipped into the presses meant for the new 1965 copper-nickel coins. The result? A handful of dimes bearing the 1965 date but made of 90% silver, a mistake that should never have existed. At first, no one knew these coins existed. For years, people used their dimes without any thought. But then collectors began to notice subtle differences: the weight, the sound, the color tone. The genuine 1965 copper-nickel dimes weighed around 2.27 grams, while the rare silver dimes weighed about 2.5 grams. That small difference was the first clue. When one of these rare 1965 silver dimes was discovered, it sent shockwaves through the numismatic world. People couldn't believe it. How could a silver dime with a 1965 date exist when all silver was supposedly discontinued after 1964? It was a mystery that drew collectors in like moths to a flame. The U.S. Mint later confirmed that a very small number of these error dimes had indeed been struck on leftover silver planchets from 1964. It wasn't intentional, it was an accident, but one that would go down in history as one of the most extraordinary minting errors of all time. Now, let's take a closer look at the coin itself. The obverse side, or the front, features the familiar profile of Franklin D. Roosevelt, the 32nd President of the United States, who led the country through the Great Depression and World War II. His face has been on the dime since 1946, following his death in 1945, as a tribute to his leadership and his role in founding the March of Dimes, a charity organization fighting polio. On the obverse, you'll find the word "Liberty" curving around the left edge, Roosevelt's profile facing left, the national motto, "In God We Trust," placed just below his chin, and the minting year, 1965, neatly engraved to the right. At first glance, it looks like any other dime. But the magic, the secret, lies not in what you see, but in what the coin is made of. Turn the coin over to its reverse, and you'll see a design that has stood the test of time: a torch in the center, symbolizing liberty, flanked by an olive branch on the left, representing peace, and an oak branch on the right, representing strength and independence. Above it reads, United States of America, while below is inscribed, 1 dime. Between the branches is the Latin motto, E pluribus unum, meaning, out of many, one. Even though the design is simple, it's iconic, a symbol of America's resilience and unity. But what makes the 1965 silver dime truly special is not its design, but its defiance of history. It shouldn't exist, and yet it does. That defiance, that mistake, is what gives it such magnetic allure among collectors. Over the decades, collectors have scoured their change jars, coin rolls, and old boxes in hopes of finding one of these elusive dimes. Most never do. But the few who have, their stories are legendary. Imagine going through an old jar of coins and suddenly finding one that could change your life forever. That's the dream that keeps coin hunters searching, even today. So, how can you tell if you have a real 1965 silver dime? There are a few key signs. The first is the coin's weight. As mentioned earlier, silver dimes weigh approximately 2.5 grams, while regular clad dimes weigh 2.27 grams. The difference may be small, but it's enough for a digital scale to pick up. The second sign is the edge color. Modern copper-nickel dimes show a visible copper stripe along the edge, the telltale sign of their clad composition. But the 1965 silver dimes do not. Their edge is pure silver, smooth, and consistent in color. The third sign is the sound. When you drop a silver coin on a hard surface, it produces a high-pitched, bell-like ring, unlike the dull clink of copper-nickel coins. Collectors often call this the silver ring. It's a sound that, once heard, you'll never forget. Now, you might be wondering, how many 1965 silver dimes actually exist? That's part of the mystery. No one knows for sure. Some experts estimate that fewer than a few dozen genuine examples exist today. Others believe there may be slightly more, still hiding in plain sight among millions of ordinary dimes. Either way, the rarity is undeniable. Because of this extreme scarcity, the 1965 silver dime has achieved mythical status. When one surfaces at auction, collectors from around the world compete fiercely to own it. In recent years, the value of rare U.S. coins has skyrocketed, fueled by both collector passion and investment interest. But even among valuable coins, the 1965 silver dime stands apart. Let's talk about value, because this is where things get truly astonishing. While a regular 1965 dime is worth just 10 cents, a genuine silver 1965 era dime can fetch millions of dollars, depending on its condition and provenance. In the world of coin collecting, condition is everything. The grading scale ranges from good to mint state or proof. Coins that are uncirculated, showing no wear and retaining their original luster, are valued exponentially higher. Now imagine this, a 1965 silver dime in near-perfect condition, authenticated by a leading grading service, discovered in pristine state, untouched for decades. Such a coin is not merely rare, it's one of a kind. That's the case for one of the most famous examples, which stunned the coin world when it sold privately for a reported $47 million. $47 million, for a 10-cent coin. Let that sink in for a moment. The story of how that coin reached such astronomical value is as fascinating as the coin itself. The collector who owned it had purchased it decades earlier for just a few dollars, unaware of its true rarity. When experts later authenticated it, it turned out to be one of the earliest known strikes from the 1965 transition period, a genuine 90% silver planchet with perfect details, fully struck, and with a mirror-like finish. Its provenance, rarity, and condition combined to make it one of the most valuable coins in American history. To collectors, it's not just a coin, it's a piece of history, a tangible link to a pivotal moment in the nation's economic transformation. The 1965 silver dime also represents something deeper. It symbolizes how small mistakes can become monumental treasures. It reminds us that even in the smallest, most ordinary things, there can be extraordinary stories waiting to be discovered. Many people today have started checking their old coins again, not just for nostalgia, but for potential fortune. Top 2. Today, we dive deep into one of the most fascinating modern treasures of American coinage, the United States of America 1 dime, 2014. A coin that proves even in the modern world, extraordinary value can hide in plain sight. Every coin tells a story of craftsmanship, of history, of the people who design it, and of the nation it represents. And the 2014 dime, though minted in the billions, has a story that transcends its face value. On the surface, it's a familiar sight, the bright silver sheen, the crisp reading along the edge, and the proud portrait of Franklin D. Roosevelt staring confidently into the future. But behind this modest design lies a tale of legacy, precision, minting mastery, and a twist of rarity that turns a 10-cent piece into a priceless collector's dream. Let's start from the beginning. The dime, as we know it, traces its lineage back to the earliest days of American coinage. Since the Coinage Act of 1792, the dime has been the smallest coin in diameter yet among the most symbolically powerful. It represents not just monetary value but resilience, modernization, and the ever-evolving American spirit. When Franklin D. Roosevelt appeared on the dime in 1946, it wasn't just a design decision. It was a tribute. Roosevelt, the 32nd President of the United States, led the nation through the Great Depression and World War II. But beyond politics and war, he championed a cause that touched every American, the fight against polio. His foundation, the March of Dimes, aimed to eradicate the disease, and the dime became a symbol of hope and healing. Fast forward to 2014, nearly 7 decades after Roosevelt first appeared on the dime. The world had changed, but the coin's essence remained the same. The United States Mint continued to produce the Roosevelt dime with pride and precision, a lasting tribute to a leader whose legacy still shone bright. The 2014 dime was struck in 3 mints, Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Each mint added its own tiny but crucial detail, a small letter marking its birthplace, P for Philadelphia, D for Denver, and S for San Francisco. At first glance, the 2014 dime looks no different from its predecessors, a modest 17.91 mm in diameter, weighing 2.27 grams, composed mostly of copper with a thin outer layer of nickel. But what collectors know, and treasure hunters crave, is that even among billions of coins, there can exist a few rare anomalies. These anomalies, often the result of minting errors or special strike variations, transform an everyday coin into a priceless artifact. The 2014 dime is a perfect example. While billions were minted, a few rare specimens left the presses under unique circumstances. Some displayed dramatic double-die errors, where the design was imprinted twice, creating a ghost-like doubling effect on Roosevelt's face, or the inscriptions, Liberty, and, In God We Trust. Others featured off-center strikes, clipped planchets, or mirror-like proof finishes struck on circulation dies. These rare variations caught the eyes of collectors and sparked an unstoppable wave of interest in what was once a mere 10-cent coin. To understand why collectors prize these errors so much, we need to peek inside the U.S. Mint's world of perfection and precision. Every coin begins as a blank, a small, flat disc of metal called a planchet. These blanks are fed into powerful coining presses that strike them with immense force, imprinting Roosevelt's dignified profile on one side and the iconic torch, olive branch, and oak branch on the reverse, symbols of liberty, peace, and strength. Normally, this process is flawless. But when even a slight misalignment, pressure irregularity, or double strike occurs, something magical happens, an error coin is born. And when the date reads, 2014, these rare survivors instantly attract national attention. The reverse design of the 2014 dime carries timeless meaning. The central torch, symbolizing liberty, flanked by the olive branch of peace and the oak branch of strength, encapsulates the enduring American ideals. The inscriptions, United States of America, E pluribus unum, and one dime, are deeply engraved, crisp, and balanced, representing the nation's unity and diversity. But in rare cases, small imperfections on these inscriptions make a world of difference. A slight doubling on the motto or a die crack near the torch handle can dramatically increase a coin's value. Now, you might wonder, how does a 2014 dime reach a valuation of $16 million? The answer lies in a fascinating mix of rarity, historical resonance, and collector obsession. One particular specimen, believed to have originated from a misfeed error during production, displayed an astonishing combination of traits. The coin had a perfectly centered obverse, but the reverse was struck over a 2014 Lincoln cent planchet, a minting anomaly almost unheard of. Experts authenticated it, grading it as a mint state 69 error strike, nearly flawless, with full luster and sharp details. When this dime surfaced at a major auction, collectors couldn't believe their eyes. Bidding began modestly but quickly escalated into a fierce war between elite numismatists, private investors, and even museums. By the time the auctioneer's hammer fell, the final price shocked the world, $16 million. For a dime that once could have bought a piece of candy, that moment was historic. It marked one of the most expensive modern U.S. coins ever sold, proving that even recent coins can hold unimaginable worth when paired with the right circumstances. But beyond its value, the 2014 dime carries emotional and cultural weight. It's a reminder of how something ordinary can hold extraordinary potential. Think about it, millions of people have handled a dime without a second thought, yet among them, a few hold treasures that could change lives. That's the magic of coin collecting. It's not just about money, it's about discovery, history, and the thrill of possibility. Coin enthusiasts often say, every coin has a story, you just need to find it. And the 2014 dime story is one of modern miracles. It's a coin from our time, yet it bridges generations. It connects the legacy of Roosevelt's vision with the meticulous art of modern minting technology. It reminds us that history is still being written, not in dusty archives, but in the pocket change we use every day. Let's take a closer look at the details that make this coin such a masterpiece of design. Roosevelt's portrait on the obverse, designed by John R. Sinek, remains one of the most admired presidential depictions in U.S. coinage. The subtle lines around his eyes, the confident yet calm expression, and the finely textured hair all convey the dignity of leadership. Even the inscriptions, Liberty, In God We Trust, and the mint year, 2014, are carefully balanced, each element harmoniously arranged. Flip the coin, and you see the reverse designed by Sinek as well, a symbol-packed artwork of remarkable simplicity and power. The torch burns bright at the center, representing liberty's eternal flame, while the branches on each side balance peace and strength, the virtues Roosevelt himself embodied. The Latin phrase, e pluribus unum, meaning, out of many, one, reminds us of the unity that defines America. The design is minimalistic yet profound, speaking volumes in a coin barely the size of a fingernail. For collectors, condition is everything. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70, with 70 being a perfect, flawless specimen. A typical 2014 dime from circulation might grade between 50 and 60, showing light wear. But an uncirculated coin with original luster, full details, and no blemishes can reach grades of 68 or 69. And those rare error dimes, in mint state perfection, can command astronomical prices. Another layer of intrigue surrounds the 2014 S-proof dimes, struck at the San Francisco Mint. These coins were never meant for general circulation, instead, they were specially produced for collectors. Their mirror-like surfaces and frosted details make them visually stunning, tiny works of art in metal form. When you hold a proof dime under light, you see a reflection so sharp it almost looks like a mirror. The craftsmanship behind these proof strikes is awe-inspiring, each die polished to perfection, each strike executed with care and precision, and yet, the story doesn't end there. Rumors and confirmed reports suggest that a handful of 2014 dimes were struck using experimental dies during a short testing phase at the Mint. These coins exhibit slightly different textures, unusual luster, or micro-patterns on the fields, hinting that they were part of a confidential production trial. Whether intentional or accidental, these pieces have now become the holy grail of modern collectors, mysterious, rare, and almost mythical. Every time one of these exceptional coins appears in the market, it sends ripples through the numismatic world. Collectors and investors flock to authenticate, appraise, and bid on them. The story of the $16 million 2014 dime has now become legendary, a modern-day treasure tale that inspires people to check their change, search their drawers, and look twice at every dime they come across. Top 3, the story of the 1967 United States of America 1 dime, a small piece of metal that has turned into a multi-million-dollar treasure. At first glance, it looks just like any ordinary 10-cent coin. It's small, silver in color, and easy to overlook. But hidden in its fine details is a story of change, history, innovation, and incredible value. By the end of this video, you'll understand why collectors around the world are hunting for this little coin, and why one extraordinary 1967 dime has been valued at a jaw-dropping $39 million. Our story begins in a time of transition, the mid-1960s. America was booming with change. It was an era defined by progress, space exploration, and the Cultural Revolution. In 1967, the United States Mint was recovering from one of the most significant coin shortages in U.S. history. Just a few years earlier, in 1965, the U.S. government made a bold decision that changed coinage forever. They eliminated silver from dimes and quarters. Before that, every U.S. dime was made of 90% silver. But due to the rising price of silver and the growing demand for coins in circulation, it became too expensive to keep producing silver coins. The result? A complete redesign of the dime's composition, switching from silver to a copper-nickel-clad coin. By 1967, the new copper-nickel dimes were in full production. These coins had a copper core, sandwiched between two layers of nickel. The appearance remained silvery, but the intrinsic value was much lower. Still, even with this change, the 1967 dime carried immense historical weight. It symbolized America's shift from traditional precious metal coinage to modern economics. The design of the dime itself had not changed since 1946. On the obverse, or front side, we see the dignified portrait of Franklin D. Roosevelt, the 32nd President of the United States. Roosevelt's image had been chosen as a tribute to his leadership and his efforts to establish the March of Dimes, an organization created to fight polio. The portrait was designed by John R. Sinek, chief engraver of the U.S. Mint. The design features Roosevelt's left-facing profile, with the word "Liberty" on the left edge, the national motto, "In God We Trust," below, and the date, 1967, to the right. That if you look closely, you can also spot the engraver's initials, J.S., tucked neatly below Roosevelt's neck. These small letters became somewhat controversial in earlier years, as some people mistakenly thought J.S. stood for Joseph Stalin, not John Sinek. But the Mint quickly cleared that up, and the initials remain on the dime to this day as a signature of pride and craftsmanship. Now, flip the coin over, and you'll see one of the most iconic reverse designs in American coinage history. In the center is a flaming torch, symbolizing liberty. On either side, you'll find an olive branch representing peace and an oak branch symbolizing strength and independence. Above the torch are the words, United States of America. Below, you'll read, 1 dime. And in the middle, wrapping around the lower portion, are the Latin words, e pluribus unum, meaning, out of many, one. It's a design full of meaning, a small canvas that reflects America's ideals of unity, liberty, and strength. But what makes the 1967 dime so unique? Why is this coin, out of all years, commanding attention in the collector world today? Let's start with something subtle yet extremely important. The 1967 dime was produced during a special 3-year period in U.S. Mint history when no coins carried mint marks. Between 1965 and 1967, the U.S. Mint removed mint marks from all coins to discourage collectors from hoarding specific issues. Before this change, mint marks, small letters like D for Denver or S for San Francisco, identified where the coin was made. But with mint marks gone, every coin during these years looked the same, no matter where it came from. This move had an unintended effect. It made it nearly impossible to track certain rarities or errors, and as a result, coins from this short era are shrouded in mystery. The 1967 dime falls right in the middle of this rare no mint mark period, and that adds a layer of intrigue for collectors. Now, let's talk about minting details. In 1967, the Philadelphia Mint produced an enormous number of dimes, over 2.2 billion coins. That's right, billions. On the surface, that makes it seem common and not worth collecting. But within those billions, a few coins were struck with unusual errors, minting mistakes that occurred under unique conditions. These errors transformed ordinary dimes into numismatic wonders. Some 1967 dimes show doubling on the lettering or Roosevelt's profile, known as double die errors. Others were struck on leftover silver planchets from 1964, which were mistakenly fed into the presses. Imagine that, a 1967 dime made of silver when the mint had officially stopped using silver 3 years earlier. These rare silver-struck 1967 dimes are among the most coveted by collectors, and they can fetch enormous prices at auctions. Then there are the proof-like and special mint set versions. Since the U.S. Mint did not release traditional proof sets between 1965 and 1967, it instead issued what were called special mint sets. These coins were made with extra care, featuring sharper details and mirror-like surfaces. The 1967 special mint set dimes are admired for their smooth, polished appearance and are much scarcer than regular circulation strikes. Each of these variations adds to the coin's charm and mystery, but the real magic lies in the stories collectors tell. Many coin enthusiasts view the 1967 dime as a symbol of resilience, representing America's adaptation to modern times. The coin bridges two eras, one of silver and one of clad metal. It also captures a turning point in U.S. coinage history, when artistry met practicality, and tradition met innovation. For collectors, the hunt for the perfect 1967 dime is more than a hobby, it's a passion. They study die varieties, planchet types, strike quality, and even the faintest details of toning and luster. A coin in pristine, uncirculated condition can be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. But in the rarest of circumstances, certain 1967 dimes have reached values beyond imagination. Imagine stumbling upon one of these extraordinary coins. You might think it's just another dime, worth 10 cents, but in reality, it could be a rare mint error worth a fortune. One such coin, known to exist among private collectors, features a unique blend of characteristics: a silver planchet, a full strike, and a mirror-like proof surface. Experts believe it was accidentally struck using leftover silver stock and preserved in nearly perfect condition. Its authenticity has been confirmed by multiple grading services, and its rarity is unmatched. When it appeared at a private auction, bidding started modestly, but within minutes, the price skyrocketed. Collectors from around the world joined the battle, and as the numbers climbed, so did the excitement. By the time the auctioneer's hammer fell, the final bid had reached a staggering $39 million. Yes, $39 million for a dime. That's one of the highest recorded prices ever paid for a coin of its kind. So, how can a tiny 10-cent coin be worth so much? The answer lies in a mix of rarity, historical importance, and sheer collector passion. Coins like this are one of a kind. Their value isn't just in the metal, it's in the story they tell, the mystery they hold, and the emotion they stir among collectors. The 1967 dime reminds us that value isn't always about size or appearance. Sometimes, the smallest things carry the greatest meaning. A coin's condition is everything. The higher the grade, the more valuable it becomes. A coin rated MS 68 or higher, nearly flawless, can command incredible prices. Now, let's take a moment to appreciate the artistry of the design again. And so, the next time you see a dime, take a second look. Because one of them, one ordinary-looking 10-cent coin, might just be the legendary piece that collectors are dreaming about, the 1967 dime worth $39 million. Yes, you heard that right, $39 million. From 10 cents to $39 million. That's not just money, that's history, mystery, and marvel combined into one small circle of metal.